I watched the HOA Karen smile as the police pulled drugs out of my car. She thought she just ruined my life. What she didn't know was that planting evidence is a federal crime. And I was the FBI director standing right in front of her. I never imagined my morning commute would turn into a federal nightmare for someone else. All because one HOA Karen decided she could destroy my life with a lie. It started on an ordinary weekday morning. I stepped out of my house, coffee in hand, already running through my schedule for the day. The sun was barely up. The neighborhood quiet except for sprinklers, ticking away like nothing in the world could possibly go wrong. That's when I saw her. Standing next to my car, Evelyn, the self-appointed queen of our HOA. Clipboard tucked under her arm, phone already in her hand, lips pressed into that familiar tight smile she wore whenever she thought she had power. She didn't even look surprised to see me. If anything, she looked pleased. Before I could say a word, police lights flashed at the end of the street. 2 squad cars rolled in, slow and deliberate. Evelyn stepped back and folded her arms like she was watching a performance she'd rehearsed. An officer approached me and said they had received an anonymous tip about illegal substances in my vehicle. My heart skipped. Not because I was guilty, but because I knew exactly what kind of person Evelyn was. She leaned toward the officers and said loudly, "I was afraid this would happen. He's been acting suspicious for weeks, coming and going at odd hours, refusing HOA inspections. HOA inspections. I asked the officer if they had a warrant. He said they didn't, but they had probable cause based on the tip and Evelyn's statement. Evelyn smiled. I stayed calm. Too calm, actually, because I knew something she didn't. They searched my car. And then one of the officers froze. He pulled out a small plastic bag from under the driver's seat. White powder inside. Evelyn gasped dramatically and put a hand to her chest like she was witnessing justice being served. She started talking about protecting the community and keeping drugs away from children. The officer turned to me and asked me to step aside. I did, still calm, still silent, because at that exact moment, Evelyn made her biggest mistake. She started recording. She narrated everything for her HOA group, talking about how she caught a criminal and how this was proof that the HOA needed more authority. She didn't notice the way the officers were now watching her instead of me. I finally spoke. I asked one simple question. Do you know what happens when someone plants evidence in a federal investigation? She laughed. Out loud, she said, "Oh please, you're not federal anything. You're just another homeowner who thinks rules don't apply." That's when I took my wallet out. Not fast. Not dramatically. I handed the officer my credentials. His expression changed instantly. He looked at me, then at the badge, then back at me again. The street went silent. Evelyn's phone slowly lowered. The officer straightened his posture and said quietly, "Sir, I'm going to need to make a call." Evelyn frowned and asked what was going on. I looked her dead in the eye and said, calmly, evenly, without raising my voice even once, "You should probably stop recording now, because you just committed a felony." Her smile vanished. She opened her mouth to speak, and nothing came out, because she had no idea that the man she tried to frame was the director of the FBI, and this was only the beginning of how badly things were about to go for her. The moment the officer stepped away to make that call, everything shifted. Evelyn tried to recover. She laughed nervously and told the other officer the people fake badges all the time. She said she had friends in law enforcement and that this whole thing would blow over once they checked properly. But her voice had changed. The confidence was gone. Within minutes, another cruiser arrived. Then another. A supervisor stepped out, listened quietly, and asked to see my credentials again. He didn't just glance at them. He examined them carefully, then nodded and handed them back with both hands. From that moment on, no one treated me like a suspect anymore. They treated me like a witness. The supervisor asked Evelyn to step away from the vehicle. She protested loudly, claiming she was being ignored after doing the right thing. She insisted the search continue and demanded I be arrested before he destroys evidence. That's when the supervisor asked her a very specific question. How did you know where to look? Evelyn froze. She stammered something about a feeling and said she had seen me acting strangely near the car earlier. The officer looked at the bag again, then at the ground beneath my car. No dust on the bag, no dirt. It hadn't been there long. The supervisor ordered the street cameras to be reviewed. Then he asked if anyone had private security footage. Several neighbors hesitantly raised their hands. One of them said something that made Evelyn's face go completely white. "I saw her near his car this morning, before the police came." That neighbor pulled out his phone. He had footage from his door camera. It showed Evelyn walking up my driveway before sunrise. She looked around, crouched next to my car, opened the door, and slid something under the seat. The video was silent, but it screamed. Evelyn started shouting that the footage was fake. She accused everyone of conspiring against her. She even tried to grab the neighbor's phone. That didn't go well. She was restrained. Now she was the one being read her rights. The supervisor told her she was under investigation for evidence tampering, filing a false police report, and obstruction. Her knees buckled. She kept repeating that she was just trying to protect the HOA. Protect it from what? From me not following their parking rules. That was the real reason. She admitted, without realizing it, that she'd been angry for weeks because I refused to give the HOA access to my garage, my car, and my home. She said she wanted to teach me a lesson. A federal lesson. The officers secured the bag, sealed it as evidence, and documented everything. Then the supervisor turned to me and asked if I wished to press charges. I didn't answer immediately because something else was happening. A black SUV pulled up at the end of the street. No lights, no sirens, just authority. Two men stepped out, suits, earpieces, calm expressions. They walked straight toward me. Evelyn noticed them and whispered, "Who were they?" I didn't answer her. They greeted me by my last name, respectfully, formally. They informed the local officers that the matter was now under federal jurisdiction. Evelyn screamed. She said this was harassment. She said she was being targeted. She demanded her lawyer. One of the men leaned down and said something quietly to her. Her screaming stopped instantly. She started crying, not dramatic crying, real fear. Because she finally understood what she'd done. Planting drugs wasn't an HOA power move. It was a felony. And the people now surrounding her didn't answer to neighborhood committees. They answered to the federal government. And this still wasn't the end, because once the investigation started, it didn't stop at her driveway. It went straight through her life, and everything she thought she controlled was about to fall apart. By the time the federal agents finished securing the scene, the entire street looked different. Neighbors stood silently on their lawns, phones were lowered, curtains were pulled back. Whatever story Evelyn thought she was telling that morning had completely collapsed. She sat on the curb, shaking, hands cuffed behind her back, repeating the same sentence over and over. I didn't know, but ignorance doesn't erase intent. The agents walked her through it calmly. Planting illegal substances, filing a false police report, attempting to frame someone, obstruction. Each charge landed heavier than the last. Her HOA title meant nothing now. Her clipboard lay abandoned in the grass. They took her phone. That's when things got worse for her. The forensic review didn't just find the video she recorded that morning. It found weeks of messages. HOA group chats where she talked about setting me up. Private messages bragging about how she would finally get rid of him. Searches about how to anonymously tip police. Even a draft message she never sent that said, once he's arrested, the HOA can seize the property. The agents exchanged looks. This wasn't a mistake. This was premeditated. Within hours, the case expanded. The HOA board was contacted. Financial records were subpoenaed. Turns out Evelyn had been using HOA funds for legal consulting and security services that never existed. She'd convinced the board it was necessary to deal with non-compliant residents. They froze the HOA accounts that same day. By the end of the week, Evelyn was formally charged. Bail was denied due to risk of tampering and prior attempts to manipulate evidence. The news spread fast, faster than she ever spread rumors. The HOA board issued a public statement distancing themselves from her, then another statement removing her as president, then another admitting internal failures. Lawsuits followed. Homeowners demanded refunds. Some demanded resignations. The community didn't just lose a Karen, it lost trust. As for me, I gave my statement once, calmly, factually. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The evidence spoke for itself in court. Evelyn tried one last time to play the victim. She cried. She talked about stress, about pressure, about how she only wanted order. The judge stopped her mid-sentence. This court is not interested in HOA politics, he said. This court is interested in criminal behavior. He sentenced her accordingly. Prison time, probation after, a permanent record, and a lifetime ban from holding any HOA leadership position in the state. When it was over, she looked at me once, not with anger, with disbelief, because the man she tried to destroy hadn't raised a finger against her. She had done it all herself. The neighborhood is quiet now. No surprise inspections, no threatening notes, no power trips disguised as rules. The HOA exists, but it's smaller, humbler, and very careful. Every once in a while, a new neighbor asks why things are so calm here. Someone usually answers before I do, because once upon a time someone tried to play games with the wrong person, and that's the truth. Power doesn't come from a title. It comes from knowing the law and respecting it.